I'm going to tell you the number one. There's non-negotiables, folks, about life, and the number one non-negotiable business principle, and it's not just business principle, but I'll call it that. Non-negotiable. You know what non-negotiable is? Negotiable. Sorry, it's hard for me to always spell. You've never noticed that before, but hard to spell and rant and rave at the same time. Non-negotiable business principle. I am amazed how people forget this. They ignore it. They pretend it doesn't exist, but this is like gravity. You cannot ignore it. It is true. It's true whether you believe it or not. Whether you believe it, whether you pay attention to it. It's something that, like, it doesn't matter if for 20 years you cooperated with this, but then all of a sudden, 21st year you said, I just kind of when people drift, you hear about how do they drift? Companies lose their bearings and they lose their profitability and they're not as sharp, and it's because they drift away from these non-negotiable things that they learned early on that they used to be great at. But then they just kind of forgot about it. Folks, keep up with the non-negotiables, and please keep up with this one. And here's what it is. The number one non-negotiable business principle is you either grow or you die. Now, here's what that means. Life is lived on an incline. Let me see if I can say that. Life lived on an incline. Life is not lived all of life. All of life is lived on an incline, a downward incline. In other words, if it's like this, let's talk about your life forward. You start right here, you going forward in your life. You personally or your business. This is your timeline, all right? Have you ever seen a timeline? We use these all the time. Representing starting today, and then 10 years from now, and 20 years, 30 years down the road, where will you be? All right, here's your timeline. But that can be the timeline for you, timeline for your project, timeline for your business. Now, over time, things happen. But your timeline, that's how we look at it. And this is wrong. Let me tell you what the timeline is. The real timeline is like this. You start here, and left to your own devices, you're going on its own. Your timeline is going to go down. So if you want to overcome this natural tendency, you have to work to elevate yourself, because the natural tendency at all times is, it's more like this. This is the way it exists. Let me tell you, an example to easy to understand may be weight. This is your physical fitness, all right? Is your physical fitness likely, naturally, going to stay the same over the next 20 years? No. Your fitness is going to go down. You're going to gain weight. You're going to get out of shape unless you work to overcome yourself and keep yourself. Even if you want to, you've got to work to stay even. This is why many of us have noticed the older we get, the harder it is, more dieting, more working out, more fit, just to stay anywhere close to the levels we were in the past, because we're not designed to live forever. We got an expiration date, folks. You get older. Let's just say it that way. You get older. So if you want to maintain your fitness, and the same thing with a business, let's just say, go in here, you have a product. So that's one thing, like your weight, your fitness, with you personally. But let's say you have a product. In your business, you have a product, you have a service. Hey, iPhones were a sizzler when I think 2007 when they came out. But are the same iPhones as much of a sizzler now? The Androids have come out with so many new features, they mock the iPhone. I mock the iPhone on my ads. iPhone, that's for old people. That's for mom and dad. Androids have all the cool new features. See, everything gets old. Products get old. Great. You won the Super Bowl 15 years ago. Thank you, Pops. Thank you, Granddad. Have a seat on the couch. Have a pretzel. I'm interested in watching this year's Super Bowl, not films of when Granddad did it. You know, everything gets old on its own. So if you want, it's like, let's just say right now, let's use the Super Bowl. Right now, the Super Bowl is, football, NFL football, hottest thing in America. You know what's going to happen to that if they don't work to keep it sharp, to keep it in the mind, to keep it better and bigger, better? It's going to go down. It's not going to stay the same, not going to naturally go up. It's the law, it's called, there is a law about that. And you know what that law is? It's the law of life. It's called the second law of thermodynamics. Now, the short redneck way of calling this is that everything is going to pot at all times. The way the eggheads say it is that everything is constantly in a state of dissolving. They say it better than that, but that's the kind of, like, things are not, the second law of thermodynamics does not say that things are getting more organized naturally. It's evolution. We're evolving. The species evolves. The planets evolve. Everything is better and better every day. There was a French philosopher, I think it was a priest, who had the philosophy every day in every way, things are getting better. At the end of his life, you know how he ended? Committed suicide. Because it turned out flawed concept. You can believe fantasy things, but they're going to bite you in the rear because the truth triumphs. And this is truth, folks. Align yourself with truth. Don't follow flawed concepts in life. They will bite you in the rear. But the second law of thermodynamics says not that things get more and more organized. In other words, your kids are become more and more behaved. The planets are going to become more and more in alignment. Inconsistencies will go away. More grass will grow, and less weeds will grow in your yard. When you wash your car, it's going to continue to stay cleaner and cleaner all by itself. Is that the way it works? No. It's going to be not more disorganized, less. And what the truth is that things are in a state of decay at all times. And if you want things to be good in your world, you have to fight to make them good. Your company, you have to freshen it up. If your kids are well disciplined and doing their homework, you have to continue to challenge them to improve and to do better. Make it more of a game. Give them rewards. Make it exciting. Otherwise, they're going to be doing less and less homework and getting worse and worse grades. So the second law of thermodynamics tells us that you can't assume that things are going to get better, because the natural thing is going down. In other words, we live life on an incline, going down. And if we want them to go up, you have to make an effort. And where this shows up in business is people will make incredibly uninformed, some might say stupid, and I would say stupid too, but I'm such a kind person, I won't say that. They say things, we just want to do the same. We just want to keep on, we want to keep our profits or our business or our recruiting or our sales. We want to keep our, let's just say, our volumes. We want to get to a certain volume. In our business, it's like, we want to do 30,000 production. We want to do double digits or this, that, and the other. We want to just keep at a certain level, okay? You can't keep it a certain, that's treading water. That's dangerous. The tides will pull you under. You'll fall asleep. You'll start taking things for granted. The only thing that's going to keep you sharp and keep improving and maintain where you are is trying to do better. When you try to do better, that at least keeps you sharp enough to where you have a chance of maintaining the same. And so like Apple with the iPhone, it's only if, see, left to their devices, the iPhone's going to get old, out of date, obsolete. It is blown away by all these Samsung competitors and all the Android, Motorola things. Now, they're trying to make it the best, the most innovative, hang on to the lead in the industry. The effort to do that, maybe it's going to be disappointing, like this lousy new iPhone 5 that came out. What a dud that was. But at least it kept them the same. I'll probably get a phone call from the Apple people now. But anyway, at least it keeps them generally in the same. If they hadn't come out with the iPhone 5, i4 would be continuing to become more and more obsolete, less interesting. Sales go down, down, down. So by trying to make it something better, at least they can kind of maintain their position. And that's the way it is with you folks. Life is lived on an incline. The number one non-negotiable grow or die. It's just the way life is set up. And you can either be aware of it, let it drive you forward, or you can ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist, and let it suck you down just like gravity. Be smarter than that. At least get number one right. We could do that, can't we? All right.